Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is a blue collar wine show where I always want to remind you that wine is not a mystery. It's just a beverage, and a good one at that. Before I start in this program, I'd like to thank anyone who took the time out of their evening or their day to watch my episode with my buddy Roger. I really enjoyed doing that episode. I know it was a little bit long, but you know, Roger really wanted to kind of interview me. I know he didn't interview me enough. We might do another one in the future. I'll say it again, I'm always amazed at Roger's palate. And I'd like to encourage him to keep progressing with that palate. And so I do appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I know it was a little bit longer. I'm trying to shorten my episodes just a little bit, kind of get through the tasting a little bit quicker. I'm going to the entry-level sommelier class down in Portland next week, and I know they give you about 4 minutes to taste through a wine, so I really want to practice that, and this is a good platform to do that. And the next 3 episodes are going to be on blends, in particular red blends. And blends are a huge category right now in the wine world. I mean, they're huge. Probably the biggest growing category I have in my wine department are red blends. And they're not anything new. If you go to France, think about it. Bordeaux is a blend. Cab Merlot, Cab Franc are the predominant 3 grapes. They throw Petit Verdot in there. They don't use Malbec anymore, and a long time ago they used to use Carmenere. And of course, the Rhone Valley. You think about it, Chateauneuf-du-Pape, they can use up to 13 different grape varietals for that wine. That's a blend, let me tell you. So I always try to tell my customers that, or at least I try to encourage them to try some French wines. I know, New World red blends are huge, but don't forget about France. They've been doing it for a long time also. The first 2 I'm going to do are from Washington State. And it's amazing how many grapes they use in their blends. And you'll see it in the first one I'm going to do today from Renegade Wine Company out of Columbia Valley, Washington. This is part of the Sleight of Hand Cellars, Trey Bush's winery. He does his second label. This rolls in at $10, so obviously this is his cash cow, the Renegade Wine Company. And listen to the blend on this one. 40% Cab, 37% Merlot, 16% Cab Franc, 3% Malbec, and 2% Petit Verdot. So Trey Bush is going for a true Bordeaux style blend in this wine. Let's see what we get on the nose. Now $10 is a pretty good value for a wine. Let's see if it's any good. It's not a good value if it's not good wine. Right? Right. So this is real earthy on the nose. I get some red flowers, maybe a little bit of rose petals, some tobacco. Red and kind of black plum together. So there's a lot of red fruit on this. I'm getting some cherry, red currant. A little bit of a dusty component going on. Let's see what we get on the palate. A little splash action going on there. Got to work on that. I wonder if I need a bigger bucket. I don't know. I seem to splash myself an awful lot. So on the palate, it's pretty one-dimensional, actually. There's definitely black and red fruits. There's I get that earthy quality, kind of a forest floor element, like dirt, tobacco. There's a tiny hit of spice on the back end. It's not thrilling me very much. It's pretty boring. It's definitely, it doesn't have that New World love, that sunshine, love handles, big fruit. I mean, obviously Trey Bush here is trying to go towards the more Bordeaux style by the blend. And he's nailed it as far as the earthiness of the wine. I just think it's a little bit shallow. I think it lacks complexity. Give it another try here. Yeah, there's nothing on the mid palate. I mean, it just kind of lays there, like a zombie. I think there's some people are going to like it if you want some old world style wine. It's $10. You're not going all out on this one, but it didn't do it for me. I'm not really, it's kind of boring. It's just, sorry Trey. I love your wines. This one is not doing it for me. I'm going to go C- on this. It's not terrible, it's not funky, it's not, it's got some earthiness to it, but it's a little below average for my palate. And just remember that. That's for my palate. Let's move on to the next one. This wine was given to me by a good friend of mine, Mike Sheridan. He was my cameraman in one of the episodes I got the most comments on. And this is Patterson Cellars Winery out of Woodinville, Washington, not too far from Seattle. Let me show you the label. This rolls in at $17. At least that's what it said on their website. So I'm going to trust their website. The name of this wine is Duani. Hope I didn't butcher that. Duani, which means 2 years in Italian. So this is a blend of two vintages, 2010 and 2011, which is very interesting. It is 35% Sangiovese, 25% Cab, 21% Cab Franc, 6% Petit Verdot, 4% Merlot, 3.5% Grenache, 3% Mourvèdre, and 2.5% Counoise. That's crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different grape varietals in this wine. That's what we call in the wine world a kitchen sink blend, for sure. Now that's the difference between France and the U.S. In France, they're pretty restrictive on what you can use. In other words, in Bordeaux, there's only the 5 grapes of Bordeaux. We know there's 6. Alan, we know there's 6. Carmenere is always part of that. Alan, my good friend Alan, is always reminding me there is Carmenere in part of the grapes of Bordeaux. Okay, got it. Won't forget it. Anyway, but in France they're pretty restricted what they can use. Even in, like in Chateauneuf du Pape, they can only use 13, up to 13. They can't use anything else. And there's, this is true in many countries in Europe. They have restrictions on what kind of grapes they can use. Where in the U.S., these guys can get creative. They can use whatever they want. They just can't call it a cab unless it has 75% cab. And I notice that some of these wineries, even if it has enough varietal in it to call it that, they'll often call it a red blend because they throw so many other things in there. So I've never had Patterson Cellars before, at least not in recent memory. I can't remember having it before. So let's see what we get on the nose. This is real meaty on the nose, like beef and marinade sauce. Some perfumed currant notes. Maybe a little bit of cherry is in there. Excuse me, I'm just going to look at the color of this. Yeah, this is what you'd call ruby red. Definitely very dark. Definitely a dark wine. Get a little blackberry action going on in this. It's not like jumping out of the glass, but it's pretty interesting. Let's see what we get on the palate. Yeah, blackberries all day. A lot of blackberries, currant, tobacco. The tannins kind of grip a little bit on the back end, but definitely not what I would call hugely tannic. Nice acidity. It's very bright, fresh on the palate, but the initial hit, there's a good hit of nice ripe fruit, but it never goes ripe. I wouldn't call it a fruit bomb by any stretch of the imagination. It is really held tightly together, very well integrated with the acidity, the fruit. It's got great mid-palate, finish is nice and clean. I'm still tasting it. I got a lot of like cherries and lingering around, mixed with a little bit of blackberry element. So yes. A lot of tobacco notes are in there. I can see this wine appealing to a lot of people. It's a very good food wine, good acidity, which you need for food like for roast or stews or ribs or whatever you're having. This would be perfect with that. It's $17. That's what they said on their website. I'm going to hold to that, and because this was given to me from Mike out of his shop to try, and you know it's 14.2 alcohol, which isn't terrible. Well, alcohol's not an issue with me as long as it's well balanced. It's very well balanced. Like I said, that those flavors are still lingering on my palate. I'm impressed with that wine. I'm going to give that wine an A-. I think it is very good. Nice job on blending. And so we have a C-, an A-, $10, $17. Good job. Well, here, not too thrilled about that. You know, thanks for watching. I appreciate your support. If you want to make a comment, please do. I like reading comments. I think it's great that there's some interaction, and I'll respond to those comments if you make them. Again, thanks for watching. Cheers, and here's to keeping the snob out of wine.